Hello friends, welcome back. We'll continue our session of electrolysis. Okay, in the earlier session, that is our first session of electrolysis, we saw the different terms involved, that is electrolysis, how electrolysis is a redox reaction, then definition of an electrolyte, non-electrolyte, then concepts about strong and weak electrolyte, cathode and anode, then cation and anion, then special reference to the metallic and electrolytic conduction, then difference between electrolytic dissociation and ionization. All these aspects we've already covered. Okay, now today we'll have a look at what is called as the factors affecting the selective discharge of ions at respective electrodes. Now first let us try to understand what do we mean by selective discharge of ions. Yes, now if there are more than if there are two or more ions, yes, either positively charged ions or negatively charged ions in the solution, then both these ions, whether it is positive ions or negative ions, positive ions will migrate to cathode and negative ions, anions, will migrate to the anode. So there will be competition between the ions to get discharged as neutral atoms, and one of the ions will get preferentially discharged at the discharge as a neutral ion at the electrode, right. So this preferential discharge of ion at the respective electrode into the neutral atom is nothing but the selective discharge of ions. Okay. So when there are two or more ions in solution, is which ion will get preferentially discharged at the respective electrodes. Okay. So what are the factors which are determining that aspect is what we are going to see today. Okay. There are total 3 factors which we have to understand. One is the position of the ions in the electrochemical series, then second is the concentration of ions, and third is the nature of the electrode. Okay. So we are going to see one by one each in detail. Okay. Now just have a look at the slide here. So factors affecting the selective discharge of ions at respective electrodes. So you understood what selective discharge means. Selective discharge means it is the preferential discharge of the ions at the respective electrodes into the neutral atoms. Okay. So the first factor is the relative position of the cation or anion in the electrochemical series. Now you are aware of the activity series of metals. So this is the electrochemical series. Now only difference is that the positions of calcium and sodium have been interchanged. Rest of the series is the same. So as per the activity series, you know that the metals which are highly reactive or which are most metallic in nature are placed at the top, and the ones which are less reactive are placed at the bottom. Okay. So now as per this electrochemical series, you have to understand that lower the position of the ion in the electrochemical series, more readily it will get discharged, means more readily it will get converted into the neutral atom. Yes. Now why that is so, just try to understand. Now the ones which are at the top of the series, they are highly metallic. Highly metallic means what? They have a tendency to readily lose electrons, yes, and form electropositive ions. And when we said that the ions are getting discharged as neutral atoms, what is happening at the cathode? At cathode, the cations gain electrons and get converted into the neutral atom. So the tendency of these to gain electrons will be very, very less. Okay, they have a less tendency to gain electrons compared to the ones which are at the bottom. So those ions which are at the bottom of the electrochemical series will get readily discharged as neutral atom, meaning between mercury and silver, if there is competition between Hg and Ag, it will be the silver ions which will readily gain electrons and form the silver atom. Okay, is it clear? So you have to remember that lower the position of the ion in the electrochemical series, greater it is tendency to get discharged into the neutral atoms. Okay, and you have to remember this electrochemical series, it's very important. Generally objective questions are asked based on this entire topic. Okay, so this is our electrochemical series for cations. Now you have a similar electrochemical series for anions, that is sulfate, nitrate, chloride, bromide, iodide and hydroxide. Okay, so lower the position of the ions in the series, so hydroxyl will get readily discharged as the neutral atom. Now hydroxyl is highly unstable, so it cannot remain as a hydroxyl ion, it will readily form water and oxygen. How that we will see in the factors which we are going to now discuss. Okay. So is this first factor clear? That is the relative position of the cation and anion in the electrochemical series. This is our first factor which determines the selective discharge of ions at the respective electrodes. So for example, now if you have copper sulfate solution, aqueous copper sulfate solution, so there will be copper ions also in the solution and H plus ions also in the solution. Why? Because it is aqueous solution, so water will give H plus and OH minus. So there will be competition between hydrogen and copper, correct? Competition between H plus and Cu2 plus, because both are positively charged. So both are going to migrate to the cathode, but between H and Cu it will be the copper which will get discharged as the neutral atom. Okay, understood? So selective discharge will be of copper. Clear? So that is the first factor, position of the cation or anion in the electrochemical series. Clear? Now second factor is concentration of the ions. Now generally, higher the concentration of the ions, greater is the tendency of that ion to get discharged as the neutral atom. Okay, in general. Okay, now just try to understand here. Two examples we will see. One is electrolysis of dilute sodium chloride and other is electrolysis of concentrated sodium chloride. Now first just understand this electrolysis of dilute sodium chloride solution. So sodium chloride, when you are passing electric current, naturally it will form ions, sodium ions and chloride ions. Now since it is an aqueous dilute NaCl, means you are preparing the solution in water. Since it is an aqueous solution, water will also form the ions H plus and OH minus. Okay, so now sodium ions and hydrogen ions are what? Cations. Yes, very good. So cations migrate to the cathode. So at cathode, yes, both sodium ions and H plus ions are going to migrate to the cathode, but which will get preferentially discharged based on our first factor. Yes, lower position. Now which is having lower position? Just see here, H plus is having lower position and sodium is high in the series. Okay, so at cathode the H plus ions will get discharged into neutral atom. So it will gain an electron and form H. Now it has to form a hydrogen molecule, so you just multiply this by 2. So two hydrogen atoms will form a hydrogen molecule. Okay, so neutral atom hydrogen is liberated at the cathode. Okay, is it clear? So competition between Na1 plus and H plus, and so which will get selectively discharged is the hydrogen. Now at anode, anode is what? The anions will migrate to the anode. So both the chloride ions and the hydroxyl ions, both are going to migrate to the anode. But which will get preferentially discharged is based on its position. So here OH is lower in the series, Cl is above, correct? So hydroxyl ions will lose electrons and will form the OH, and this OH radical is highly unstable. Yes, so it will, you just multiply this by 4. So 4 OH will directly give you 2 water and 1 oxygen molecule. Now 1 oxygen has to be formed. That's why you have to multiply here by 4. Okay, is it clear? So at anode hydrogen is being liberated, and at cathode, oxygen is being liberated, and at cathode hydrogen. Okay, is it clear? So this is when dilute NaCl is being electrolyzed. Now when you are carrying out electrolysis of concentrated NaCl, this is our factor, that is, if higher the concentration of the ions, those ions will get preferentially discharged as the neutral atom. Okay, so again it is concentrated NaCl, so the dissociation of the electrolyte water will be the same. Yes, less traces of water are there, but ionization will take place. Okay, now again between sodium and H plus at cathode. Now here just try to understand this is very important. Now between sodium and hydrogen ions, yes, though we are using a concentrated solution of sodium chloride, the position of sodium is very high in the electrochemical series. Yes, so in spite of the fact that concentration of sodium ions is more, the H plus ions will get preferentially discharged at the cathode. Okay, so though concentration is higher here of sodium, the sodium will not readily gain the electrons. Yes, so between sodium and H plus, it will be the H plus ions only which will get preferentially discharged as the neutral atom at the cathode. Okay, so this specifically you have to remember this. Okay, so at cathode it will be the hydrogen ions, hydrogen atoms only which are being liberated, and ultimately the hydrogen molecule being formed. Okay, Now at anode, see, chloride ions and hydroxyl ions both are negatively charged, yes. So where will they migrate? Yes, very good. So they are going to migrate to the anode, anions go to the anode. Now between Cl and OH minus, as per our earlier factor, it should be the hydroxyl ions which should get converted, what you say, discharge as the neutral atom, yes. But if you see here, I have shown chlorine. Now here the reason being the high concentration of sodium chloride. Now between chlorine and hydroxyl, because chloride ions are in a higher concentration, they are going to get preferentially discharged, because the distance or the position between chlorine and OH minus is, there is separation of only 2 ions in between, yes. Whereas for sodium and hydrogen, yes, the gap is more, because the position of sodium is very high in the electrochemical series. Yes, are you getting this point? So when it is concerned with the electronegative ion, that is the anion, it will be the chlorine ions which will be formed at the anode, yes, and for cathode it will be hydrogen only. So this is mainly because of the high concentration of the chloride ions. Okay, so this is our second factor, that is concentration of the ions. Now here, what kind of a question you can expect on this concentration of ions? Generally in the compulsory section of the paper, they ask you name the product obtained at the cathode, yes, when electrolysis of concentrated NaCl is carried out. Okay, like that question. Or they can ask you choose the correct option. Yes, product at cathode during concentration of concentrated NaCl is. So options will be hydrogen, sodium, chlorine, oxygen, like that. Okay, so remember, when it is concentrated NaCl, cathode product is hydrogen, anode product is chlorine, and when it is dilute NaCl, cathode product is hydrogen and anode product is oxygen. Okay, so these products are important. Clear? So this is our second factor which determines the selective discharge of ions. Now the third factor, as you can see here, nature of the electrode. Now nature of the electrode, now there are mainly two types of electrodes. One is called as the inert electrode and the other is called as the active electrode. Now inert electrode, as you are aware, inert means what? Will not react. Yes, you are aware of inert gases, noble gases, right? So here also inert means it is not going to take part in the electrolytic reaction. Yes, inert electrode means it does not take part in the electrolytic reaction. And what are the examples of inert electrodes? Iron, graphite and platinum. Okay, they are inert. How they don't take part in the reaction, I will explain shortly. And active electrodes, as the name indicates, actively involved in all the activities. So active electrode means taking part in the electrolytic reaction. So active electrodes will be copper, nickel, silver, etc. Any metal if you are using like copper, nickel, silver, etc., they are all active electrodes. Yes, but iron, graphite and platinum, though they are metals, they are inert. Okay, they are inert electrodes. So examples of inert electrodes and examples of active electrodes, important. Which of the following is an example of an inert electrode, or which of the following is an example of active electrode? Yes, all in the compulsory section of the paper. Yes, so this particular topic, many questions are asked based on this. It's more of understanding and application based rather than just, nobody is going to ask you list the factors. Okay, direct questions are not asked. Now just try to understand here how the active and the inert electrodes are playing a role in electrolysis. Now we are considering the electrolysis of aqueous copper sulfate solution. So once you pass electric current, dissociation of copper sulfate will take place in this manner. So copper sulfate will dissociate to form what? Copper ions and sulfate ions, right? And water will form H plus and OH minus. Now consider that we are using active electrodes. Active electrode means cathode and anode both are made up of copper. Okay, cathode is also copper and anode is also copper. Now you pass electric current through it, these reactions are going to take place. Now what will happen? Cations are Cu2 plus and H plus, right? So cations go where? Very good. Cations will migrate to the cathode. And at cathode, so both copper ions and H plus ions are going to migrate to the cathode. And which of them is going to get preferentially discharged? Now you have to see the three factors, that is the position. So which is lower in the position? Yes, copper is lower than hydrogen. So at cathode, the copper ions will gain electrons and will form the neutral copper metal. So at the cathode, you will see brownish pink deposits of metallic copper. That will be your observation. Okay, is it clear? So competition between Cu2 plus and H plus, and which is going to win the competition? Selective discharge, copper ions. Yes, very good. So at cathode, you are getting copper. So observation here will be what? Brownish pink or reddish pink, you can write deposits of metallic copper at the cathode. Now anode. Now which are the anions which will go to the anode? Negatively charged are sulfate and hydroxyl. So sulfate and hydroxyl ions, they are anions, so they are going to migrate to the anode. Yes. Now here just pay attention. Now neither sulfate nor hydroxyl ions will get discharged as neutral atom. Yes, why? Because our anode is active copper metal. Okay, so sulfate and hydroxyl will just migrate and remain at the anode, and they will remain as ions only. But our active anode, which is copper metal, that itself is going to lose the electrons and form copper ions. Okay, is it clear? That is the meaning of taking part in the reaction. Anode itself is taking part in the reaction. It will lose electrons and form copper ions. Okay, whereas the sulfate and hydroxyl will remain in solution only near the anode. Yes, so sulfate and hydroxyl will migrate to the anode, but neither gets discharged, because our copper is anode is a active copper electrode. So that itself will lose electrons and form copper ions. Okay, is this clear? So this is the scenario when we are using the active electrodes. Cathode and anode both are copper. Now let us see what happens when you are using the inert electrodes. Yes, so when you are using inert electrodes, cathode can be copper or it can be platinum also. Yes, there is no restriction for cathode. Cathode can either be copper or it can be platinum also, but anode has to be inert. Yes, that is a prerequisite, that anode has to be inert. So here we are using anode as platinum. Now same thing you will carry out. You will pass electric current, so these reactions will be the same. Dissociation of aqueous copper sulfate to form copper ions and sulfate ions. Water will form hydrogen ions and hydroxyl ions. Okay, now the cations will migrate to the cathode, right? Very good. So both copper ions and H plus ions are going to migrate to the cathode, and which is going to get preferentially discharged? Yes, copper only. Correct. So at cathode, same reaction, no change. Copper ions will get discharged and form the neutral copper atom. So observation also will be the same. That is your brownish pink or reddish pink deposits of metallic copper at the cathode. Now sulfate ions and hydroxyl both will migrate to the anode, and which is going to get preferentially discharged? Now see the position of the ions. The hydroxyl ions are lower. So here hydroxyl ions will get discharged as the hydroxyl radical is highly unstable. So you multiply it by 4 and it will form water and oxygen. Now here anode is inert. Since the anode is inert, it is not taking part in the reaction. So our sulfate and hydroxyl radicals which are migrating to the anode, so based on the position, whichever is lower, that will get discharged. Okay, is it clear? This is very important. You have to understand this, because questions will be asked based on the this application. Products are generally asked. Okay, so total 3 factors we have seen which affect the selective discharge of ions at the respective electrodes. And what is selective discharge of ions? The preferential discharge of ions at the respective electrodes to form neutral atoms is known as selective discharge. And what are the 3 factors? One is the relative position of the cation and anion in the electrochemical series. You have to learn this series properly. Then second, concentration of the ions, and third is the nature of the electrode, right? Okay, these 3 factors we have seen. So now we'll have a look at the next part. Okay, now in the next part we have to discuss electrolysis of molten lead bromide. 3 are prescribed in your syllabus. One is electrolysis of molten lead bromide, second is electrolysis of acidified water, and third is electrolysis of aqueous copper sulfate using both active copper electrode and using inert electrode, that is comparison. Okay, now in electrolysis of molten lead bromide, yes, as you can see here, now the electrolytic cell, yes, the electrolytic cell is made up of silica crucible. Now there is a reason why silica is used as a electrolytic cell. Now it is a non-conductor of electricity, it withstands a very high temperature and is non-reactive. These are the three reasons. This is very important question. This you have to remember. The question is generally asked, name the electrolytic cell used in electrolysis of fused lead bromide and justify its use. So why silica crucible is used? Because three things are there. One, it is a non-conductor of electricity, withstands a high temperature and is non-reactive. Okay. Now why high temperature is required for this silica crucible to withstand? Because if you observe here, temperature is 380 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now this 380 degrees Celsius is the melting point of lead bromide. Now we have written electrolysis of molten or fused lead bromide. Now if you remember solid lead bromide will be a non-electrolyte. Yes, it cannot conduct electricity. Do you remember why? Yes, very good, because the oppositely charged ions, that is the lead ions and the bromine ions, yes, they will be held by very strong electrostatic forces of attraction. So free ions are not available in the solid state. So we have to convert it into the molten or the melted state for it to conduct electricity, and for that we have to supply heat. Yes, so we are heating it to a temperature of around 380 degrees Celsius, which is the melting point of lead bromide. Okay, so in order to withstand this high temperature, we need to use silica crucible. Okay, clear? Yes. Now the electrodes, cathode and anode, we are using both inert electrodes. Cathode either iron or graphite, and anode is also graphite. Now the reason why this graphite is used or it is preferred, because it is inert, that is one, and secondly it will not interfere with the highly reactive bromine vapors. Yes, the bromine is very reactive. So the anode should not interfere, the electrodes rather should not interfere with the highly reactive bromine vapors. That's why we are using inert electrodes. Okay, clear? Then temperature, I just explained why temperature 380 degrees Celsius is required. Why? Because that is the melting point of lead bromide and it has to be in the fused or the melted state. Solid cannot conduct electricity. Okay, current around 3 amperes. Now when you are closing the switch and you will allow the current to pass through it, what will happen? These electrode reactions, very important. Dissociation first of the lead bromide. So PbBr2 on passage of electric current will form Pb2 plus these are 2, so 2Br1 minus. Clear? Now Pb is 2 plus is the cation, so cations will migrate to the cathode. Now here there is no competition because we are using fused lead bromide, right? So positively charged ion is only 1 and negatively charged is also 1. Okay, so there is no selective discharge, this one only has to get discharged, right? So at cathode the Pb2 plus will gain the electrons and will form neutral lead. So at cathode generally the observation you will say silvery grey deposit of metallic lead is obtained at the cathode. Yes, that is the observation. And at anode these are 2 Br minus. So one ion of Br minus will lose one electron and will form Br. So you can just do into 2. So that 2 Br, so I have just split it up and written as Br plus Br will form bromine molecule. So at the anode you see reddish brown vapors of bromine, very important. Here it is the silvery grey deposit of lead metal and here reddish brown vapors of bromine are observed. So this is the electrode, these are the electrode reactions at the cathode and at the anode. Now products, so at cathode you will write product is what? Lead metal, and at anode it is the bromine gas. And observation, this very important. At cathode silvery grey deposit of lead metal and at anode reddish brown vapors of bromine. Okay, is it clear? Now this particular observation generally in the first compulsory section of the paper. If you remember the paper pattern, if not you just go through the paper pattern which I have given in the first lecture. In that there is one question, state your observation in case of the following. In that compulsory part they generally ask this, observation during electrolysis of molten lead bromide. So you have to write both these observations. Yes, the color is very important in all observations. Okay, is it clear? So this is our electrolysis of molten lead bromide. Now coming to this homework questions. Yes. Now just see here, whatever I have explained, this is your homework 2. Homework 1 I had given in the first session of electrolysis. Yes. Now see homework 2. Answer the following questions is with reference to electrolysis of fused lead bromide. First is, what is the electrolytic cell made up of and why? Give 5 stars to this, very important. Yes, electrolytic cell is made up of what? Silica crucible. And why? Because silica is non-conductor, withstands high temperature, non-reactive. Okay, 2 marks for this. Then explain why the electrolytic cell needs to be heated to a temperature of 380. So solid lead bromide is a non-conductor of electricity. So you have to heat it to 380 degrees, which is the melting point of lead bromide, so that free ions become available to conduct electricity. Okay. So these answers to these questions are there in the PDF. It may be somewhere around 128 or 129. You can just look up the chapter electrolysis in the PDF. You will find the answers to this. Then third, what is the cathode and anode made up of? Justify. So cathode and anode both are made up of graphite. And why? Because they will not interfere with the highly reactive bromine vapors. Okay, that is the reason inert is used. And also they will not interfere with the discharge of the neutral atoms at the respective electrodes. State observation at cathode and anode is this observation you will write again. Yes, you will write it again, it is important, that is why. And give the reactions taking place at anode and cathode. So again these reactions you will write as part of homework. Okay, once you will copy this slide, and second as part of homework again you will be writing this, because electrode reactions are very important. They are generally asked. Okay, is it clear? So now, okay, so with that we complete this session. Now in the next session we are going to discuss the remaining two electrolysis, that is of acidified water and of aqueous copper sulfate, and then we are left with the applications of electrolysis. Okay, so happy studying, stay safe and healthy in the house. Thank you.